haven't even told you what we're going to record today. But thank you for coming to the studio.
Hey, this studio doesn't beat it. I've been on a lot of podcasts. This is the best studio,
And
hands
guess
down.
what? Free rent. I don't even need to pay for this. But I want to share with everybody on this podcast about my good friend Pablo, aka Mr. Ambitious on Instagram. And Pablo, you are somebody that I look up to in business and as an entrepreneur, but I want to highlight one specific thing today, and I want to talk about one specific thing, and that is the World Shakers Conference.
Yeah.
This podcast, fun fact, is going to be released the day after World Shakers. So we're not trying to sell you tickets.
Wow.
This is really about us taking a second in our busy lives, because me and Clarissa are actually helping him build the World Shakers Conference. And it sounds kind of crazy, like, hey, do you want to come sit by the water and talk about our feelings on World Shakers? Like, we have things to do, but I really believe that we deserve to have this time to reflect and rest in God's presence and talk about what he's done through you and your yes to World Shakers. You're so different and unique. I'm going to share a little bit about you and hype you up for a second. But Pablo is 28. He's 28. His parents are Mexican and Cuban, correct? And he is continuing the legacy that his father has built. I really believe that. It might not look like the same way he exactly did it, but I believe that it's even much more, and that your father passed the baton. If you don't mind me sharing.
Of course.
Pablo's father passed away about 14 years ago, and he was an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur, owned about 100 restaurants. And Pablo's background is he comes from a military school background. He's in life insurance and real estate, and now he is building a conference, and it's called the World Shakers Conference. So you have a lot of weight on your shoulders. The name from your father, because as a man, I think that's something maybe just in the Hispanic culture, I'm not sure, but you are carrying on a legacy with his last name. And you are a faith leader, a faith-based leader, a kingdom entrepreneur who has no choice but to build everything on faith. And I've gotten the pleasure to walk aside you in this journey, and it is not easy. And I want people to see the real Pablo.
Yeah, well, we're going to bring it.
Yeah.
We're going to bring it, and thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I love what you're building. Just so you guys know, I didn't pay her to say any of those things.
Hey, but you can. I'm just kidding.
Thank you guys. Thank you for believing in me. I think I get a lot of the eyes sometimes, but what people don't understand is that, number one, without God, none of this is possible. And number two, without having an amazing supporting team behind me, none of this is possible. So yeah, I may be the one that's often in front of the camera, but it also takes a village to build something like World Shakers, like what we're doing with Educate and Elevate, like what we're doing with the Financial Architects and all the other businesses that we're involved in. And yeah, I guess sometimes it does take a little bit of pressure. I like to call it healthy pressure, because God has trusted us. I was reading somewhere, forgot where it was, on social media you see a bunch of things, and God's not gonna trust you with building something, for example, like World Shakers, if he doesn't think that you can do it. He wouldn't have aligned you, Clarissa, and myself with this responsibility, this ministry, really. I think you said this is gonna get released after World Shakers, so knowing that, I mean, if you guys were at the conference yesterday, you know exactly what took place. And what we're really anticipating is a form of ministry through business. And recently I've given my dedicated my life to the Lord. And am I sitting here saying I'm the perfect Christian? No, absolutely. I'm far from it. I'm far from it. But I think it's just getting closer and getting to know him more. We were talking on the way up here, and that's really like having a date with him, right? Dating God, getting to know him more, right? And yeah, I mean, we could go on for days on that.
Right. No, that's good. I love how you just spoke in existence and speaking to the future of like, if you were there yesterday, then you know what happened.
Yeah.
And that's what faith looks like. It hasn't even happened yet, but you speak life over the mission and the vision that God gave you. I want to talk about how much you always speak life and vision over a conference that people haven't even experienced yet, that not even you have experienced yet. This is our second year. You're not even there yet,
Yeah.
but you share the vision with people, and sometimes it's crickets.
Yeah.
Sometimes people look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
Can you share with me, like, what goes through your mind when you don't get the response that you want or maybe you expect from people when you share such a big vision like a conference to elevate people?
You simply have to just rely on belief. Belief that God is going to provide. Belief that when there is crickets, there may be silence. But just because there's silence doesn't mean God isn't working. When it's silent and there's stillness, that's when God's working overtime. Right? So I believe right now, yeah, we're not at World Shakers yet, right? We're shooting this about a week before. And there is some stillness. But my belief is that he is going to provide, and he's going to put the right people in that room that need to hear the message. You know? It's just having belief.
That's really,
It's just believing that the right people are going to be there.
that's good.
Yeah.
Now, your name on Instagram is Mr. Ambitious, so you're very ambitious. How do you, as a successful entrepreneur, as a man who is normally in leadership position, how do you as a man learn to be still and let your father lead, your heavenly father lead?
I got tired. I got exhausted. I really just got tired. You could only carry so much weight until you ultimately just end up breaking down. It probably wasn't until about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, where I finally said, you know what? I give up. I'm done. I had failed at doing 2 different businesses. I had, and we could be honest on this podcast,
Yes.
I'm assuming, I had been in 2 relationships in 2 years. I was getting into friendships and around people that just weren't serving me to really elevate my life the way that I wanted to. And what I realized is that I was trying to drive. I was trying to be the driver rather than being the co-pilot. I still had the vision, because when you're driving a car or flying a plane, there's 2 people in the front. Sometimes there's 3, right? But oftentimes there's 2 people in the front. I was in the right position. I just wasn't in the right seat. So I know that I'm supposed to be at the front of the plane, but I wasn't supposed to be on the left. I was supposed to be on the right side. God needed to be the driver behind every business, every relationship, every decision that I was making. And when I finally got tired of like failing, which honestly, that's what it was. Failure has been my biggest teacher, right? It's just failing over and over and over again. I finally said, you know what? I surrendered. What is it? What do you want me to do? You clearly want me in business. because you've given me the gift of understanding numbers, understanding financial literacy, understanding business literacy. So I'm in the right field. You placed me in leadership positions since I was young. You clearly took away, I don't want to say maybe took away, but you removed my dad at a young age. You didn't do that for no reason. So why? Why have you taxed me so much? What was it? He was showing me that you're in the right place, but you don't have to carry all these things by yourself. So really, this was like an awakening that came to me maybe about a year ago. Was instead of looking for other business partners, which is great, you need to have great business partners, but your number one business partner is not going to be somebody else. It's going to be me. It's going to be God, right? So once I made I signed on the dotted line. I said, okay, we shook hands, we made an agreement, and I surrendered to him. He became my business partner. We had meetings, right? We were talking about, we were making a joke, like, I was on the phone call, we got him out, right? I have meetings with him.
Yeah.
Those meetings are prayer times.
Yeah.
We're talking, he's talking to me, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that, right? Giving me direction. I no longer have to be the driver. I can now be the co-pilot.
So good. I want to share something with you, a revelation that God gave me. He started making me lose the appetite for the word boss. About 2 years ago, on one of my business anniversaries of me becoming official business owner, I bought myself a necklace and it said boss. I never wore it. I barely found it the other day in my car about a month ago. And my mom said, how come you haven't worn this? And I said, because from the time that I bought it, from the time today, God has told me you have never been the boss. It is me who's the boss. I'm the CEO of your business. I'm the foundation. I'm the one who calls the shots. Just the way that he can give us something, he can take it back so quick. And so even working with you, I've shared with you from the very beginning, I'm not really used to working with a man who leads, but I'm ready to surrender to that. And I'm ready. I don't want to be the boss. I'm tired of being the boss, God. I have been building my businesses with you this whole time. It's time for you to just fully get the credit. To really say, God's not just my helper. No, he's the boss. Because I was using the verbiage of, he's been my helper. Yes, he's my helper, he's my father, and he's the boss. Because I believe he's redirected you. Those businesses failed, the ones that you're talking about, because God had a bigger plan for you. And he said, Pablo, I need your yes for World Shakers. And there's power in the name, World Shakers. It's going to take a village and like a world to build this thing up. And we're going to reach the world. We're going to reach thousands of people. And so I feel like that's where you're at too. You're very ambitious. Yes, people may see you on social media, he's a boss. He's a hustler. Now you've come to the realization, no, I've just surrendered and given my life to Christ, and he's the boss. He's the pilot. And it's the best, I think it's the best self-revelation that we could have as business owners for the kingdom.
Yeah, I think when you're thinking of boss, we think leader sometimes, right? CEO, we think leader. Well, again, a year ago, all of these downloads started. It was really when like Clarissa and Selena really kind of like came into my life, and I started to really understand. You guys have taught me a lot, which we could get into. I want to get into that. But the mindset of a leader, like I love studying great leaders. What makes a good leader? Well, if we're studying the past, right? Who was the greatest leader of all time? A lot of us would say Jesus, right? an amazing leader, the best leader of all time. Influencer, right? Understanding how to influence others. I mean, look at this. He's started the biggest movement ever, right? He understood other people. He understood how to move and shake people. He understood how to get the best out of people, right? So I think a good CEO, a good boss, a good leader understands what drives people, how to get the best out of people. What drives you may not drive me sometimes, right? So us, as we're building teams, as we're helping our clients, as we're building and starting families and doing whatever it is that we're doing, we have to understand and study our communities, right? How can I get the best out of the people around me and influence them in the right way, right? Once that finally woke up to me, I started to study the greatest leader. He is the one leading. And if, as long as I just stay in alignment with his core principles, again, because my mind, going back to my past, again, you said, right? I went to 2 different military schools. So I was raised by Marines. I was raised around structure, right? My bed had to be tight. My closet had to be super organized. I wore a uniform the majority of my life. Principles, beliefs, being on time, being militant is my structure. That was like my structure for a long time. So I thrive off of core values, principles, rules in a way, right? And once I started to see that and understand his rules, I was like, man, I can fall in line with him easily. Because he's structured. It's very, very like transparent. He tells you exactly what to do, right? And what makes a good leader is a good follower. You have to be a good follower in order to be a good leader. So what I realized was I have to be a good follower of him. If I want to build something that's going to be fruitful for the people around me.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but I think that you gain trust that way too. Like integrity is built through that. And that's why I've been able to trust you as someone to lead us in building the World Shakers Conference, because I know you're looking at the best leader of them all, and his name is Jesus.
And you guys taught me that. You and Clarissa taught me that. I'll never forget. I tell this story all the time. Is when I came to you guys with the idea, right? Hey guys, I want to do this growth conference. You know, it's going to potentially work as a ministry. We want to, do entrepreneurs and help people that are 9-to-5ers have faith in themselves and start their businesses and grow spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. And I remember you guys putting me in contact with someone else. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not going to work. I want you guys. And I'll never forget what you guys told me. You guys, I'm going to paraphrase that. We believe in you because you believe in him. We could quote unquote surrender to you because you surrender to him. And as long as when we're in alignment with that, we know that this World Shakers Conference could really, be something special. Of course, it's going to take our hard work and hours and all the fun stuff that it takes to put a conference like this together. But I started to learn that. And you guys taught me something that I'm going to take for the rest of my life. And you guys brought me closer to him. You guys have a massive, I don't think you guys understand how big of an influence you guys have made on me. You guys literally changed my life. You and Clarissa have literally changed my life. And I will forever look at you guys like sisters. I love you guys to death. Honestly, because I would not be who I am today without the help of you guys.
Aww.
And I don't just say that, I honestly do mean that.
Yeah.
Because it's even helped me in my relationship today.
Yes, we were preparing him too. There would be times we would have conversations and we're like, look, one day God's going to bring you a godly woman. Just know she's not going to be exactly like us, but she will value the same things. She will expect the same things, and she will want to communicate at this level. And I felt like you did a great way of understanding that. You didn't resist, which is why I think that God has trusted you with his daughter, Gabriella. Hey, yeah, Gabby.
Shout out to Gabriella.
But
But
yeah,
it was a preparation,
it
right?
was.
It was like that. It was that preparation. It was like, okay, I'm going to bring a godly woman into your life, right? Who knows at what time? Who knows? I didn't know, right? But now looking back on it, it's hitting me right now. Like that was just preparation for what's to come. And that's life.
Yeah.
God's going to place us in situations to prepare us for the future.
Right. That's good. I want to, since you kind of went back in time a little bit, I do want to talk about the first time that you presented this vision to me and Clarissa. I want to know how God presented the World Shakers Conference to you. Do you remember where you were at, how he told you how you felt when he told you to do it? Because to give your yes for something like that, it means you're saying yes to the sacrifice, the time, and the investment that you're going to pour into that. Because I believe it was one of the most selfless things you chose to do in your industry as a business owner and entrepreneur, because this truly does serve people. So does your insurance company, but it's at a different level. So I want you to share a little bit about that.
Insurance is what I do.
Yeah.
It's not who I am.
Yeah, right.
Educate and elevate is what I do. It's not who I am. World Shakers is a small display at a deeper look at what I stand for, right? Spirituality, mentality, physical being, and understanding financial literacy. Those four components is ultimately what makes me, right? Like God makes me, right? But like it's what those are like somewhat of my pillars. I think what really like hit me was it's been years in the making. I've gone to a bunch of entrepreneur events, growth conferences. I've traveled throughout the US. And they've been great events, amazing events. And I don't know what it is, but there's just always been a missing component. A lot of times, entrepreneurs, sometimes we give credit to a mentor, which is great. We give credit to a class or a course that we took, which is great. We got lucky with sales and we're really good sales and way of persuading people. And that's awesome, right? Because you need those skills. But we never give credit to God. God is the one that gave us this opportunity. Why aren't we talking about that? Why isn't he being shined enough? Right? That's what really started to kind of like make me flip tables. Is, okay, no one else is doing this? Well, then we're going to try it. And one day, I wouldn't say it was like one specific day that he told me, hey, you're going to do the World Shakers Conference. I think it was just something that I just kept getting flashes. Because I kept going to these conferences and no one was giving credit to him. And it was making me angry. So the deeper I started to dive into my spirituality and my belief system, the more like everything just started to be fruitful. The better people that were around me, the better business partners I started to attract, the more abundance just naturally. So I like naturally started to become a better person, right? And I felt good. So I was like, man, it's going to be risky if I'm being just completely honest. Like, what are people going to think? Those thoughts went through my head. Oh, he's leveraging or he's using this way of marketing himself as a spiritual person, right? It's scary, right? Could the business fail? Well, it's not going to fail if God's at the center of it. And even if it did fail, maybe he just wanted me in a different position. See, every opportunity is a learning opportunity. And once you take that mindset on, you only fail when you give up. I wasn't going to give up, right? So when he came to me with this idea, and I was like, all right, let's do it. I prayed on partners that we had to be in alignment. And that's where you and Clarissa like appeared.
No, that's good. What I feel like through this season, when you give God your yes, he cares more about your character than he does the business. And we already know he's going to take care of the business. We already know that it's going to prosper. We know lives are going to be changed. But what was it that he did in your character throughout this time where he refined you? And he was like, Pablo, we're going to get rid of this part of you. We're going to refine this. What was that?
People.
People?
Yeah. I think he stripped a lot of, I don't even want to say stripped. He removed certain people out of my life, right? Certain characters in my life that maybe for this season right now weren't cut out to help me get there.
Yeah.
That's a good question. How has he refined me? I mean, my character, I'm just getting to know him more.
Can I share something as your business partner?
Yeah, you probably seen more. I'm not...
And you probably have seen things change in me too, which we can both openly share right now. I think this is important for people to hear because when you give your yes, God cares about your character more than the business. I promise you. And I believe that he has stripped pride from you. You became softer in the best way possible. God gave you this gentle spirit because you're a go-getter. You're like a lion, you're like a bull, like get out of the way, I'm gonna get it done. But you have learned to represent Christ in your leadership. And that is dying to your pride, being more patient with people who are growing, because as leaders, we want to take people up with us. And sometimes it gets real frustrating when they're not getting it. But it gets real irritating. Sometimes I've been like, God, I don't think I should be a teacher because I don't have patience. But God's like, no, I'm going to teach you to have patience because you're going to lead. You need to have those attributes. And I really feel like you've done that. That I've seen it is when you cry. And I feel like men they're not used to seeing that. And I think that is one of the bravest, courageous, and most vulnerable things that you could do. And it shows your heart. It shows that you really care. And I've seen that. And I appreciate it.
Thank you. I've learned to cry.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever cried before. Did you? Like,
I think the older I've gotten, the more I've understood that it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
It's actually very rejuvenating.
Yeah.
If you feel really good when you cry. We were talking on the way up here. I just finished watching The Lion King for the first time in my life, and I cried like a baby, like from start to finish. But I just felt so rejuvenated. Vulnerability is a very powerful thing because you're showing your true character, you know? I think for all the men that may be listening to this, women as well, but with Latino men, we grow up with this like machismo, like suppress your feelings. Don't talk about your feelings. And there's a lot of pride built up. Well, we gotta, in other words, kill that pride somehow. Right? And I think that's a hard thing to do, especially for men. It's a hard thing to do because we have to look big and powerful, right? Yes, it's good to be strong. I think men need to be strong. I wouldn't say cry for everything.
Right.
Right?
But you don't.
But it's okay to cry is what I'm saying. Around the right people.
Yeah.
You know? So if there's something that I would have to leave you guys with, especially for my men, my leaders, find the right people around you that you could cry with and be vulnerable with. Who's in that inner circle that you truly trust, right? Who's in that circle? Who can you go to? Who could you open up to? Who can you pray with, right? You and Clarissa have been part of that inner circle for me. I could be vulnerable with you guys. You guys have seen me weep, you know? And I think that that's something that we could all take away as entrepreneurs, because it could be stressful. But it's that in that moment of just surrendering and letting it all out, and then you realize, like, he's got it.
Yeah.
I don't gotta carry that cross.
Right.
He carried it for us already. Take it as far as you can, but he's got it.
That's good.
Yeah.
I want to end with one more question. What is the number one doubt you have right now about World Shakers? And I want us to say it out loud, and I want us to speak against it and proclaim it from the rooftops, because I believe that there's power when we confess to our brothers and sisters. It's just God's word, and we can help each other to uplift one another throughout this time.
My number one doubt with World Shakers for this year.
Or fear.
I'm not fearful or doubtful that lives will be saved. If there's maybe a bit of doubt, and that's a hard question, because I know he's going to come through. I truly believe he's going to come through. But I think right now where I'm being tested, maybe is the word I could say,
Yeah.
where I'm being tested with my faith in a way, is like, we need ticket sales to come in, right? Just waiting for that time to hit where people are going to take action and get their ticket and register.
Yeah. And I know your heart, because I'll never forget the first time you shared World Shakers with us. You cried sharing the vision because you believed in it so much that I know when you say, I want ticket sales to come in, it's because you really want people to experience what you've experienced through business. And that's just God building your business and him being your foundation and changing your life. And I know you want people's lives to be changed.
I do want to say, I want to answer that question from last year. What was my biggest doubt? My biggest doubt was mixing a form of spirituality and belief with the world of business. Last year, God showed me that there was nothing to be doubted, nothing to worry about, because he was at the center of it. And the last 12 months have been the best 12 months of my life. So I could only imagine what the next 12 months are going to be.
Yeah.
Because he's at the center of it. And we're diving even deeper, going higher with him this year. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's now just refining that and going deeper with him. And it's fun. I mean, we're trailblazing something that hasn't been done.
Yeah.
So
We're not called to be like everyone else anyways, but that does mean that we're going to experience doubt. That does mean that we're going to experience pushback. But we just have to keep our eyes focused on him, and I'm in it with you, brother. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it. I really hope and pray that this helps people realize that this is the real Pablo. We get to show what we want to show on social media, and I always want people to experience this part of you. Not everybody gets access to that, so thank you for letting me be VIP.
for you,
But this is important for leaders to know. You do experience doubt, you do experience test, and these are thoughts that leaders and entrepreneurs and visionaries experience. And that's all I want them to know, is that don't give up. Just don't give up, because I believe that when we're on the edge of wanting to give up, there's breakthrough. And I believe that God's repositioning us, and he's doing the work while we're still right here by the water, He is handling the World Shakers Conference right now as we speak.
He is. I believe that, and I love everything you're doing with Pack Vision, with your amazing studio. All right, and I'm gonna continue to pray for just your abundance, your clarity, and your mission, and for the right people, whoever's gonna be in this seat next, to continue to touch lives, because this podcast will change lives, impact lives 100%. So congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thank you. Subscribe and follow Mr. Ambitious. Is it just Mr. Ambitious?
Mr. Ambitious Inc.
On
Or
Instagram.
potentially changing that soon. We'll see.
So follow him now before he changes it. But if not, the World Shakers Conference Instagram will never change. So follow us on the World Shakers Conference, and we hope to see you next year too, because we want to shake up your life a little bit. We want to elevate. We want you to grow too.
Let's do it.
All right. Bye, guys.